Hello, and welcome to the module on creating references in Excel. Now, if you look at Excel as a whole, you have two different types of references. If you look at a cell, let me click on that particular cell. This we would call a relative reference cell A2. Now let's have a look at the difference between absolute and relative references. In this particular formula, what I'm trying to do is take my salary per individual and increase it by 2.91%. Now, usually what I would do is I would start off by saying equals the salary amount, multiply by the percentage increase, and add that to the original salary to get your new salary amount. Now, when we copy this data down, what is going to happen to our references? Well, let's copy it down and see what happens. In the first formula, you're talking about cell D2. In the second formula, that moves relatively to cell D3, which is absolutely correct. And over here, D4, D5, and D6, which is what you want the formula to do. However, at the moment, it is multiplying by cell H1, which is our increase cell over here, which is correct for the first one, but for the second one, because it's a relative reference, it's now multiplying by cell H2, which obviously has nothing in it. And over there, because it's a relative reference, it'll change from A3 to A4 to A5. So what we really want to do is we want to make cell H1, which is our increase cell, an absolute reference. We want to fix the cell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you two things. One, how to do this while typing a formula, and two, if you need to go and do this and edit an existing formula. So let's delete all the data and start again. We do the same formula, equal to your salary, multiply by the increase. But when you click on the cell that you want to be absolute, immediately after, on your keyboard, you select the key F4. You will notice that that'll put a $ in front of the H and a $ in front of the 1. What this does is it now fixes that cell. Then we will add this to the original salary and push enter. Now when we copy our data down, we can see that the cells that we want to be relative, D2, D3, D4, are changing, which is correct, but our cell H1, which needs to be fixed, is remaining fixed. Now, what if we have formulas that have already been created and we want to change existing cells to absolute references? So let's delete the data and start again. We take our salary multiplied by our increase rate, we add it to our salary, and we've forgotten to make the absolute reference. You don't need to retype the entire formula. What you can do is just select in the formula bar the cell that you would like as an absolute reference, push F4 on your keyboard, and enter. This will now change the data for you. The next module we're going to look at, which is part of our references module, is in the sheet below. So you've got one sheet called absolute references. You're now going to click on mixed references. So initially we had relative references, which are cells that change as you copy formulas down, and you've got absolute references. These are cells that you would like to fix or keep absolute in formulas. There's also something else called mixed references. And mixed references allow us to use rows or columns as a reference rather than actual cells. So if you have a look on your mixed references sheet, what we would like to do here is calculate the actual values for each furniture item in the various regions. Now usually what we would do, we would say equals, we would take the value, multiply by the percentage to get the amount of furniture in that particular region. But even if we had to fix that cell or that cell, we're not going to get an accurate answer when we copy the values. So just to show you, this is obviously very incorrect. If we had to fix a particular cell, so we'll say the couches multiply by the north, We use F4 to fix it. That is perfect provided that we are copying the formula only down, but we cannot now copy it across because the values have changed. So ideally what we would like to do is fix only that particular row, because we know that these cells need to change. However, this here, let's just go back and do that again. It's couches multiplied by this particular cell. Now when you click on the cell, we want to keep the row 3, but we don't want to fix it to column C. So when you push F4 to make it absolute, it will make the entire cell absolute. But you can keep pushing F4 until you get the reference that you are looking for. Now where the dollar appears in front of, that's the part that'll be fixed. So in this case, row 3 will be fixed. If you push F4 again, only column C will be fixed. And in this case, what we'd like to do is fix only row 3. So we change it until there's a dollar in front of the 3. But what we'd like to do as well is we'd also like to fix column B so that our furniture items remain the same. So let's click on cell B4 and move it so that the dollar sign appears in front of the B. So now we are fixing only column B and row 3 for our formula. This will allow the reference then to adapt as necessary but keep the correct values. So let's have a look here what has happened to our formula. We've got 900 by 30%, which is accurate and exactly what we are after. So when you are copying formulas down and across and you need to refer to certain values, if it's in a fixed cell, you would use an absolute reference. If you're happy for the cell value to relatively change, you would carry on with your formula as normal. But if you want to refer to a particular column or particular row, you can use your F4 button to keep clicking and tapping it to make sure you get the correct reference for that particular formula.